Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. My name is Daniel, and if there's one truth I've carved out of life's wreckage, it's this. You can live with someone, sleep beside them, share every mundane detail of your days, and still not know what's brewing beneath the surface. People preach that love is a fortress built on trust, that when you find the one, you hand over your heart without a second thought. I used to buy into that. I thought love meant loyalty, a mutual pact to stand by each other no matter what. But here's the kicker. When you trust without questioning, you're not noble. You're naive. I learned that lesson the brutal way, and now I'm the guy telling you a story I never imagined would be mine. A story about how my wife, Laura, turned everything I believed about love, commitment, and marriage into ash. Looking back, I see how easy it is to be blindsided when you're smitten. You miss the hints, or maybe you catch them but shove them aside because the alternative is too ugly to face. You figure if you're all in, they must be too. That's what I told myself. After everything I've endured, love feels like a con, a shiny word people toss around to mask their selfishness. Stick with me, and you'll see why I've landed here, jaded but wiser. I met Laura when I was 32, a point in my life when I was itching to put down roots. She was 27, vibrant, the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking into it. I'd spent my 20s bouncing around, chasing jobs and fleeting relationships, but by then I was ready for something real, a home, a family, a future. When I met her at a mutual friend's barbecue in Portland, it was like the universe handed me a gift. We hit it off instantly, talking late into the night about everything from old movies to our favorite hiking trails. To anyone watching, we were the couple you bet on. We dated for just over a year before I proposed under a canopy of stars on a camping trip. Some might say I rushed it, but I didn't doubt her for a second. No glaring warning signs, no gut checks telling me to slow down. It felt right, like we were two pieces of the same puzzle. After the wedding, we settled into a cozy apartment my dad had helped us secure in Seattle. Life was good, almost too good. We'd cook dinner together, binge TV shows, plan weekend getaways. For a while, I had that rare, quiet happiness you don't even realize you're living until it's gone. We were inseparable at first, partners in every sense. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't announce itself with a trumpet. It creeps in through the cracks, from the people you'd never suspect. It started with something small. Laura came home one evening complaining about her phone. It was lagging, the battery was shot, and half her apps wouldn't load. She was annoyed, muttering about how she couldn't even text without it crashing. "I'll handle it," I said, wanting to fix it for her. I took it to a shop downtown the next day, figuring it'd be an easy repair. The tech fiddled with it for a few minutes before giving me the rundown. Fixing it would cost nearly as much as a new phone. I waited in my head, spent a chunk of cash to patch up an old device or just upgrade her to something better. I went with the upgrade. Laura loved surprises, and I pictured her grin when I handed her a sleek, new phone. What I didn't know was that this simple choice would rip the blindfold off my eyes. Before the shop transferred her data, I decided to poke through the old phone one last time. I wasn't snooping, not yet, just making sure her photos, contacts, and important stuff were safe. I scrolled through the usual menus, but then something odd caught my eye. A folder tucked away, hidden behind a generic label. It wasn't with the regular apps, almost like it was meant to stay out of sight. My stomach did a little flip. I tapped it open, and there it was, a dating app, glaring back at me like a punch to the gut. My mind scrambled for an explanation. Why would Laura, my wife, have this? I clicked into it, hands trembling, and the deeper I scrolled, the worse it got. Messages. Dozens of them. Chats with other guys. Some flirty, some shamelessly explicit. She wasn't just passing time. These weren't casual hellos. She'd been at it for months, maybe longer, joking with them, feeding their egos, responding in ways that shredded every vow we'd made. Some threads went back to before we were married. My grip tightened on the phone as I read, each word slicing deeper. She'd been playing me from the start, laughing at their dumb pickup lines while I was building a life around her. I snapped screenshots of it all. Names, dates, the ugliest bits. Insurance against whatever excuses she'd throw my way later. When I handed the phone back to the tech and said, "Go ahead with the transfer," my voice was flat, but inside I was a storm. Driving home, I rehearsed how I'd confront her. I wasn't yelling, not yet. I wanted answers, not a fight. While I walked in, I set the new phone on the counter with a tight smile. Her face lit up. "Dan, you got me a new phone? Oh my God, you're the best." She threw her arms around me, kissing my cheek, oblivious to the bomb about to drop. I let her bask in it for a moment before I spoke. "Yeah, figured it was better than fixing the old one. By the way, I checked it before the transfer." My tone was even but sharp. I saw the dating app. Her smile vanished. "What?" she said, eyes narrowing. I didn't flinch. "I saw it, Laura. The messages. You've been talking to other guys." She froze, gears turning behind her eyes, then scoffed. "You went through my phone? That's a total violation, Dan. Don't you trust me?" Classic move, flip it on me. I didn't bite. This isn't about trust. It's about why my wife's chatting up strangers online. Her defensiveness cracked a little. "It's not a big deal," she muttered. "I was just bored. I never met anyone, okay?" "Bored?" I echoed, voice low. "You think flirting with other men doesn't mean anything? That's how marriages unravel." She looked away, avoiding my stare. I stepped closer. "Delete it. Cut them off. All of them. I need to know this stops now." She nodded, reluctant, and uninstalled the app right there, her fingers moving fast under my watch. I wanted to believe it was over, but a nagging ache in my chest told me I just scratched the surface. After Laura deleted the dating app that night, I told myself it was a bump in the road, not a dead end. She'd sworn it was nothing serious, just a dumb distraction, and I wanted to believe her. Relationships take work, right? Trust isn't a light switch you flip off at the first sign of trouble. So I buried the unease, those screenshots burning a hole in my phone, and tried to move forward. For the next 8 months, we slid back into our routine in that Seattle apartment. Dinners, movie nights, the occasional hike. On the surface, it looked like we'd patched things up. But every time her phone buzzed, my gut twisted. I catch myself staring at her, wondering who was on the other end, then force the thought away. I didn't want to be the jealous husband, the guy who hovers and accuses. I had no clue that while I was fighting to trust her, she was still weaving a web of lies right under my nose. It was a crisp October morning when my body sounded the alarm. I woke up feeling off, a sharp sting hitting me when I used the bathroom. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe I'd pulled something. It was just one of those random aches. But by midday, the discomfort turned into a relentless burn, and I couldn't ignore it. I tried to reason it out. I hadn't been with anyone but Laura since we met. The idea of an infection like that, something you only get from sex, didn't even compute. As the hours dragged on, the pain sharpened, and by nightfall, I noticed something that stopped me cold. A thick, yellowish discharge. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a fluke. My body was screaming a truth I didn't want to hear. I didn't sleep that night. Lying next to Laura, her soft breathing filling the dark, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. The next morning, I was out the door before she woke up, heading straight to a clinic across town. I needed answers, even if they'd gut me. The waiting room felt like a cage, sterile walls, flickering lights, and me, sitting there trying not to lose it. After a quick exam and some tests, the doctor called me in. He didn't sugarcoat it. "You got an STD," he said, his voice matter of fact. "These are only spread through sexual contact." I sat there, numb, waiting for him to offer some other explanation, but that was it. The math didn't lie. Laura had been with someone else. There was no way around it. I left the clinic in a haze, the city blurring past as I drove aimlessly. My wife had cheated, really cheated, not just flirted online. And worse, she'd let it follow me home in the most humiliating way possible. That night, I climbed into bed beside her, silent, plotting my next move. I wasn't ready to blow it all up, not yet. I needed proof she couldn't dodge. Morning came, and I was up early, brewing coffee in the kitchen like it was any other day. Laura shuffled in, hair messy, smiling as she pecked my cheek. I clenched my jaw, letting her pour her coffee and sit down before I struck. "Laura," I said, locking eyes with her, "have you been with anyone else?" Her face shifted instantly, surprise, then indignation. She set her mug down hard. What the hell kind of question is that? She snapped. Have you? I didn't waver. Simple question. Yes or no? She leaned forward, glaring. You're seriously accusing me of cheating? After all we've been through? I pressed harder. Did you cut off those guys from the app like you said? That lit the fuse. She shoved back from the table, voice rising. Oh my God, Daniel, you're dragging that up again? I told you I deleted it. Do you know how exhausting it is to live with someone who doesn't trust me? This is insane. Then let me see your phone, I said, calm but firm. She flinched, clutching it closer. No way. That's my privacy. I nodded, slow and deliberate. Fine. Let's go get tested together, then. Cleared up. She crossed her arms, defiant. I don't have to prove anything to you. That was it. Her refusal was a confession louder than words. I exhaled, feigning surrender, relaxing my posture. The second she glanced away, I lunged, snatching the phone from her hand. She yelped, clawing at me, but I pressed it to her face. Thank God for facial recognition. And the screen unlocked. I scrolled fast, her shouts fading into static. There was messages, photos, plans. Multiple guys, some chats fresh from last week, others stretching back months. Explicit texts, meet-up details, little miss you notes. She'd never stopped. Not after the app, not after my pleas. She'd been lying to my face the whole damn time. I turned to her, holding up the phone. How could you do this? My voice was steady, eerily so. She didn't flinch, didn't apologize, just smirked and flipped me off. Something in me broke. Pack your stuff, I said. This is done. Be gone before I'm back. She laughed, like I was joking. I grabbed my keys, walked out, and it didn't look back. I drove a few blocks, pulled over, and dialed my lawyer from the car. Find me the best divorce attorney in Seattle. I want this over fast. Then I headed to my parents' place in Tacoma. They opened the door, puzzled to see me so early, but I just said I needed a breather. I couldn't unpack it yet. Not the STD, not the betrayal. 2 days later, I returned to the apartment. It was empty. Laura was gone. Word got back to me quick. She'd moved in with one of her side guys, some dude she'd been seeing long before I caught on. That hit harder than I expected, a fresh wound on top of the rest. But it confirmed what I was starting to grasp. She'd never been mine, not really. When Laura walked out, or rather, when I forced her out, I thought the worst was over. I'd caught her, confronted her, and cut the cord. But divorce isn't the clean break people make it out to be. It's not just signing papers and dusting off your hands. It's a slow, messy unraveling of everything you built, every dream you pinned on someone who turned out to be a mirage. I'd loved Laura with everything I had, sacrificed late nights at work to be with her, planned a future with kids and a house by the water, and she'd repaid me with deceit so deep it left scars I didn't know a heart could carry. The pain wasn't just losing her. It was realizing she'd never been the person I thought I'd married. That's a kind of hurt I wouldn't wish on anyone. The first few weeks after she left were a blur. I stayed at my parents' place in Tacoma longer than I planned, sleeping on their guest bed, staring at the ceiling while my mind replayed every moment I should have seen through her. My mom tried to coax it out of me over coffee one morning, her eyes soft with worry. What happened, Danny? You don't have to carry it alone. I just shook my head, forcing a smile. It's complicated, Ma. I'll figure it out. I wasn't ready to say it out loud. Not the dating app, not the STD, not the way Laura flipped me off like I was the villain. Telling them felt like admitting I'd been a fool, and I was still choking on that truth myself. Back in Seattle, the apartment was a ghost town. Her stuff was gone. Clothes, books, that stupid lavender candle she loved, but the emptiness echoed louder than her presence ever had. I threw myself into the divorce process, meeting with the lawyer my buddy recommended. He was a no-nonsense guy, mid-50s, with a handshake like a vice. We'll keep this clean, he said, flipping through my screenshots and medical records. Adultery's a strong case. You've got proof. I nodded, but clean didn't feel right. It was brutal, dividing assets, arguing over the lease, reliving every lie in legal terms. Laura didn't fight much, probably because she'd already moved on. Word trickled back through mutual friends. She was shacked up with that guy, living in some condo across town like nothing had happened. That burned worse than the infection she'd left me with. The STD lingered in my head, too. I'd finished the antibiotics, but the humiliation stuck around. I hadn't told anyone. Not my parents, not my best friend, Mike. It was too raw, too personal. But one night, over beers at a dive bar, I cracked. Mike was ranting about his boss when I cut in, voice low. She gave me something, man. An STD. He stopped mid-sip, bottle hovering. What? I laid it out, the clinic, the diagnosis, the proof she'd slept around. His jaw tightened. Jesus, Dan. That's messed up. You okay? I shrugged. Physically, yeah. Otherwise, not even close. He didn't push, just ordered another round. And we sat there, the weight of it settling between us. I started piecing it together after that, retracing the last 2 years. The late nights she'd claimed were work stuff, the weekends she'd spent visiting her sister in Olympia. I never questioned it. Why would I? I trusted her because I wanted to, not because she'd earned it. That was my first mistake. Looking back, the signs were there. The way she'd guard her phone, the vague answers when I'd ask about her day. I chalked it up to her being private, not deceptive. Love blinds you like that, turns red flags into quirks you convince yourself are harmless. But once the truth hit, those quirks became neon signs I'd ignored. The divorce dragged on for months, longer than our marriage had even lasted. By the time it finalized, I was hollowed out. The judge granted me the apartment, small victory, but it didn't feel like winning. I'd sit on the couch, staring at the space where her armchair used to be, and wonder how I'd missed it all. Friends tried to cheer me up, dragging me to bars or setting me up on dates. You're free now, man, Mike said one night, clapping my shoulder. Fresh start. But I didn't want a fresh start. I wanted answers I'd never get. Why she did it, how long she'd planned to string me along, whether any of it had been real. One day, I found an old photo of us tucked in a drawer, smiling at a farmer's market, her arm around me. I almost tore it up, but instead, I sat there, staring at it. That guy in the picture? He didn't exist anymore. Laura hadn't just cheated. She'd stolen the version of me who believed in forever. And yet, as the anger simmered, something else crept in, clarity. I'd survived her. I'd walked through the fire and come out singed but standing. That had to mean something. I tossed the photo in the trash and decided then I wasn't going to let her ruin me. Not anymore. By the time the ink dried on the divorce papers, I was a different man. Not better, not worse, just different. The Daniel who'd proposed to Laura under a sky full of stars, who'd dreamed of a picket fence and kids running around, was gone. In his place was someone harder, sharper, with eyes that didn't glaze over the ugly parts anymore. I'd spent months untangling myself from her, legally, emotionally, physically, and each step felt like peeling back a layer of who I'd been. The apartment was mine now, but it didn't feel like home. It was a shell, a reminder of promises that never held weight. I'd sit there some nights, nursing a beer, wondering how I'd let it all slip so far. But the more I turned it over, the more I realized this wasn't just about Laura. It was about me, too. My choices, my blindness, my refusal to see what was right in front of me. I won't lie. Those first months post-divorce were brutal. People talk about moving on like it's a straight line, but it's more like clawing your way out of a pit. I'd wake up to silence. No clatter of Laura making coffee. No hum of her voice planning our day. The loneliness hit hard, but worse was the anger. At her, at myself. I'd replay every moment I could have walked away. The dating app, the half-baked excuses, the way she'd turned it around on me. I should have seen it then, should have packed my own bags the second I found those messages. Instead, I'd stayed, convincing myself love meant giving second chances. That was my second mistake, thinking loyalty could fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. Work became my lifeline. I threw myself into my job at the architecture firm, sketching blueprints until my hands cramped. My boss noticed, gave me bigger projects, said I had focus now. I didn't tell him it wasn't focus. It was survival. Staying busy kept the questions at bay. Why wasn't I enough? How long had she been laughing behind my back? But they'd creep in anyway, late at night when the city quieted down. One evening, I found myself Googling the guy she'd moved in with, some slick real estate type with a condo in Belltown. I didn't know his name, just pieced it together from mutual friend slip-ups. Seeing his polished headshot online twisted the knife. She'd traded me for that? It wasn't jealousy, It was disgust at her at the life she'd chosen. My parents kept checking in, sensing I was holding back. Over dinner one Sunday, my dad finally pushed. "You're not yourself, Dan. What's eating you?" I sighed, poking at my plate. "It's over with Laura. She cheated. A lot." Their faces fell, shock, then pity. Mom reached for my hand. "Oh, honey, why didn't you say?" I shrugged. "Didn't want you to worry. It's done now." Dad shook his head. "You deserved better." That stuck with me, not because it was news, but because I was starting to believe it. I'd given Laura everything, my trust, my future, and she'd tossed it like it was nothing. Maybe I did deserve better. Not her, but for myself. Friends rallied, too. Mike dragged me to a Seahawks game, shouting over the crowd about how I was dodging a bullet. Another buddy, Chris, set me up with a coworker, a nice woman, sharp, funny. We went for drinks, and she smiled easy, but I couldn't feel it. "You're still healing," she said. No judgment when I fumbled through small talk. She was right. I wasn't ready. Not for dating, not for trust. Every laugh from a woman felt like a test I couldn't pass yet. But those outings, those attempts, chipped away at the isolation. I wasn't whole, but I wasn't drowning either. The real shift came one rainy afternoon. I was cleaning out a closet, tossing old junk, when I found a box of Laura's stuff she'd missed, scarves, a journal, some earrings. I flipped through the journal, half expecting a confession, but it was just grocery lists and random doodles. No secrets, no apologies. I sat there, holding it, and felt nothing. Not rage, not sadness, just a blank space where she used to live in me. That's when it clicked. I didn't need her to explain herself. She'd shown me who she was over and over, and I'd ignored it. The fault wasn't all hers. I let myself stay blind because I wanted the fairy tale. That was on me. I started writing it down after that, scribbling notes on my phone, lessons not for her but for me. First, trust isn't a gift you hand out. It's earned, brick by brick, and if someone cracks the foundation, don't rebuild it alone. Second, one betrayal's enough. I caught Laura once, let her talk me down, and paid for it with months of lies. Third, words are cheap. Watch what they do. She'd promised to stop, deleted the app in front of me, but her actions screamed the truth louder than her voice ever could. Last, when someone shows you their colors, don't wait for a second coat of paint. Laura's first red flag was all I needed. I just didn't want to see it. I wasn't healed, not fully, but I was learning. The anger was fading, replaced by something colder, clearer. I didn't hate her anymore. I pitted her the life she'd settled for. And I swore I'd never let anyone blindside me like that again. A year after the divorce, I'm still standing. The scars are there, faint but permanent, and I'm okay with that. They're proof I made it through, not just the end of a marriage, but the end of who I used to be. The Seattle apartment's mine now, redecorated with a new couch and a coffee table I built myself. It's not the life I'd pictured with Laura, but it's mine, and that's enough. I don't wake up to her ghost anymore. The silence doesn't sting like it used to. I've filled it with my own rhythm. Work, runs along the waterfront, beers with Mike when the week's done. I'm not fixed. You don't fix something like this, but I'm steady. And steady's a hell of a lot better than where I was. I don't hear much about Laura these days. Last I knew, she was still with that real estate guy, bouncing between his condo and whatever else she's chasing. Mutual friends stopped mentioning her, sensing I didn't care to know. I don't. She's a chapter I've closed, not with a slam, but with a quiet turn of the page. The anger's gone, burned out somewhere between the lawyer's office and the clinic visits. What's left is a kind of pity, for her, for the mess she'll keep making. I don't wish her ill. I just don't wish her anything. She taught me too much for me to waste energy on hate. The lessons stuck, though. I carry them like tools in a kit, ready for whatever's next. First, love's not blind. It's a choice, and choosing it without evidence is a gamble you'll lose. I trusted Laura because I wanted the storybook ending, not because she'd prove she deserved it. That's on me. Second, disrespect's a one-strike rule. I caught her flirting online, swallowed her it's nothing line, and let it fester into full-blown betrayal. If I'd walked then, I'd have saved myself the wreckage. Third, actions trump promises every time. She swore she'd cut ties, deleted the app with a flourish, but kept right on lying. Words are noise. Watch the moves. Last, believe the first warning. Laura showed me her truth early. I just painted over it with hope. Never again. I'm not done with love. Not entirely. I'm just smarter about it now. Mike keeps nudging me toward dates, and I've dipped a toe in. Coffee here, a walk there. Nothing's clicked yet, but I'm not rushing. Trust takes time, and I'm not handing it out like candy anymore. The women I meet seem nice, but I watch closer now. How they talk, how they act, what they don't say. It's not paranoia. It's protection. I've got too much to lose to play it naive again. And if I never find the one, that's fine. I've learned I'm enough on my own. I started sharing this story, not for pity, but for the guy out there who needs it. I told Mike one night, over wings at a bar, if I'd heard this sooner, maybe I wouldn't have crashed so hard. He nodded, wiping sauce off his chin. Then tell it, man. Someone's got to hear it. So here it is. If you're reading this, if your gut's whispering something's off, listen. Don't ignore the buzz in your chest when her phone lights up too late, or the excuses that don't quite add up. Don't talk yourself out of what you feel. I did, and it cost me time, health, faith in people. You don't have to learn it the way I did. Protect yourself, not just your heart, but your future. If she's dodging questions, hiding screens, giving you half-truths, don't wait for the smoking gun. I had mine, screenshots, test results, and still try to fix it. That was my dumbest move. One red flag's enough. Don't collect 10 like I did. And if you know a guy stuck where I was, pass this on. Tell him it's not weakness to walk away. It's strength. I wish someone had told me that before I sank so deep. The other day, I ran into an old coworker at the market. He'd heard about the split, asked how I was holding up. Better, I said, and meant it. Took a hit, but I'm still here. He grinned. You look solid, man. Like you figured something out. I have. I'm not the guy who proposed to Laura anymore. Wide-eyed, all in, blind to the cracks. I'm Daniel now, 35, a little weathered, a lot wiser. I don't trust easy, but I trust myself. That's the win I clawed out of this mess. So here's my last word. Love if you want, but love smart. Build it on what you see, not what you hope. And if it falls apart, don't let it take you down with it. I didn't. I'm proof you can come out the other side. Not whole, maybe, but stronger. That's enough for me.